Now, ordinarily, I would say that someone's medical condition is absolutely none of my business unless they make it my business, and Valérie Plante, the mayor of Montreal, has made her medical condition
all of our business.
Viva Frei, Montreal litigator turned Florida rumbler, with another car vlog because I've got some time today while I'm waiting for something. It's a dreary, rainy Florida day, which is actually quite uncommon, and I'm not going to let this story go because this story is shocking both in substance and in the way the media in Canada is absolutely not touching it.
Damn you, I will not be ignored!
Now, for those of you who don't know, who have been living under a political rock because this happened in Canada and not everybody is interested in Canadian politics, let alone Quebec politics, let alone Montreal politics, the mayor of Montreal, one Valérie Plante, collapsed giving a live hearing or something. She collapsed during a live televised appearance. Apparently, it's the second time in a year that she's collapsed, and because it was live, the video kind of went viral. And if you haven't seen the video, you must not be on Twitter. Here's the video.
Direct them to other kinds of services. So I would...
Vous pouvez reprendre les...
Oh non, je me sens pas bien.
So just a little more of nothing to see here. Move along, everybody. The mayor of Montreal collapsing during a live press conference. That's the word I was looking for. Press conference. And apparently it's been her second medical crisis, or malaise, as they're calling it, this year.
From the Gazette, it was the second time this year that Plante had a medical condition that prevented her from answering journalists' questions.
Ordinarily, I would say that people have medical crises publicly. It's not necessarily anybody's business, except in as much as it may compromise their ability to do their elected job. But Valérie Plante has made her medical condition all of our businesses for very different reasons, all of which relate to COVID.
Your papers, please.
Once upon a time, in the early stages of COVID, when the vaccine was being rolled out, Valérie Plante, took to the internet to tell us that she's been vaccinated twice, gotten a booster. Everyone should get it.
Montreal Mayor Valérie Plante was among those receiving their second vaccine jab on Friday. After receiving AstraZeneca for her first shot, it was now time for Pfizer. Posting on Twitter later, normal is on its way, but there is still work to be done to get everyone on board and vaccinated. We hope we can end COVID this summer. Starting Friday, people who have received 2 doses of a vaccine will be permitted to gather inside without a mask. A maximum of 3,500 will also be allowed at outdoor festivals.
It's not only that she took to social media to make that announcement publicly so as to influence others to do the same, she actually was talking about making vaccination mandatory for elected city officials because they have to lead by example.
Valérie Plante plans to make vaccinations mandatory for Montreal's elected officials. This is from a CBC News article back in the day, October 16, 2021. Oh, and she's wearing the mask because science. We're going to come back to other parts of this, but the highlighted section, quote, aspiring municipal officials are required to lead by example, end quote, said Plante in a Friday tweet, responding to an article from Radio-Canada.
And at one point in time, she actually discussed, or if not actually made it mandatory to show proof of vaccination in order to enter City Hall.
Quote, this is why all elected officials will have to be able to show their vaccination passport during the next meetings of the municipal council.
So just to recap, once upon a time, Valérie Plante took to social media to willingly share her medical information with the rest of the world when it was in the context of pressuring or influencing other people to go get the jab, a second jab, a booster. Lord knows how many boosters she's up to now. Once upon a time, she willingly shared her own medical information with the rest of the world. Once upon a time, Valérie Plante thought that other people's medical condition was her business when she imposed a vaccine mandate on elected officials. When she required proof of vaccination to enter City Hall, she thought that other people's medical condition was such her business that she could deny them entry into a public building based on their vaccination status.
Are we the baddies?
So you will forgive me for making something of a big deal. After all of this, when Valérie Plante collapses live on television, the second time in a year, I have now taken a very big interest in her medical condition and whether or not her prior demonstrations of her medical condition have anything to do with the very public, recent video evidence of her own medical condition. She collapses live on television with a history of vaccination and jab. The media just moves on and or ignores it entirely. And today, the National Post, seemingly the only national outlet in Canada paying any attention to this, they come out with the bombshell, solving all of the unanswered questions report, fatigue. a factor in Valérie Plante collapsing on live television.
Montreal Mayor Valérie Plante says fatigue was factor in the news conference health scare. Plante says she took the dizzy spell as a sign she needed to rest, adding that she is, quote, up and running, end quote, again. Bombshell journalism right here. Montreal Mayor Valérie Plante is back on the job after taking ill and sinking to the ground during a news conference last Tuesday. Plante says she had started to feel dizzy, felt her vision blur, and decided to sit down to ensure she didn't fall and hurt herself. She says fatigue likely played a role after an, quote, intense, end quote, fall session that included tabling a budget, managing a homeless crisis, and responding to a spending scandal at the city's public consultation office. Plante says she took the dizzy spell as a sign she needed to rest, adding that she is, quote, up and running, end quote, after a few days of sleep, light yoga, and time with her children and husband. This is Canadian journalism covering for a scandal.
And as you can see, this is some hard-hitting, Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalism. A very short article merely saying fatigue, a factor in her collapsing, to which I astutely observe if fatigue was a factor in her collapsing, that necessarily implies that there were other factors, and I think the general public that has been living under the policies of Valérie Plante as a mayor are damn well entitled to know what those other factors were.
For obvious reasons.
I often say that fact checkers are the wordsmiths of the devil. Well, the media is also the wordsmith of the devil. Words have meanings, and this is phrased in such a way as to quell all concerns. Don't worry, it was just fatigue that was a factor in her collapsing. First of all, if it was fatigue that is a factor in her collapsing, the question of her fitness to do her job is one that needs to be asked. Second, it is linguistically and logically the case that if fatigue was a factor, there are other factors, and if one of those other factors was potentially jab number one, jab number two, boost number one, Lord knows how many boosters she's up to. If one of the other factors was potentially that, well, then the general public has a right to know, and the media has an obligation to ask the questions, but they're not asking it.
So I'm gonna ask it.
Valérie Plante, what were the other factors in your second collapse of 2023? Was one of the factors possibly any one of the multiple jabs that you have taken previously?
You can't handle the truth!
And I've got to tell you, I do feel like something of an asshole to ask these questions because they are intrusive questions. But these were intrusive policies that our government officials imposed on the citizenry. And if they are now suffering health consequences because of their own policies,
We are damn well within our rights to know.
fatigue was a factor in her collapse. If it was the only factor, they would have just called it the cause. It's like that line from Road Trip, the shortcut's supposed to be difficult, because if it was easy, it would just be the way.
It's supposed to be a challenge. That's why they call it a shortcut. If it was easy, it would just be the way.
It is an intrusive question to ask. I acknowledge that, and I will even bear the brunt of being the a-hole for asking that question. The policy that these government officials imposed on us was even more intrusive, and we are damn well within our rights to know.
Well, we're waiting.
Now, I will not hold my breath for an answer, but if I ever get one, you will all be the first to know. And with that said, if you like my videos, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can follow me on Rumble, Viva Frei, in locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, on Twitter, the Viva Frei, for a saucier Viva Frei. And I made this video for another reason also. I did a live stream today with John Baudouin Sr. If you didn't watch it, you're going to want to go watch it. It was amazing.
Floyd, Minneapolis, X42, ACME, UCOD. This I know is critical. What does that mean?
If you scroll down to the bottom, I can read it.
Okay.
All right. So X42 is accidental poisoning by and exposure to narcotics and psychodysleptics, hallucinogens, not elsewhere classified.
So they have a specific code for that underlying cause of death.
That actually works for meth. There are acute cocaine overdoses, acute meth overdoses. It works for all of them. It's poisoning by a drug.
And I also forgot to mention to the world, I will be on Dr. Drew tonight at 6 o'clock as of the time of shooting this vlog. So I've got to get it edited and published before 6 o'clock tonight. But I'll put the links to both of those in the comment section. But now you know your vlog, people. Now you know what to do with that information. Whatever. Peace out, peeps. Peace out.
The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions. Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo da Vinci. How stupid of me. Forgive me. Enjoy the vlog. The vlog is over now.